and welcome to my very ambitious I Make No Promises September TBR. Now I'm not gonna lie, I've been in a slump recently. I don't know if I've read a single book this month. I might have read one. And naturally, I decided to make myself the most ambitious TBR that I could think of. The setup right now is a little questionable because my bookshelf actually collapsed because I tried to put too many books on it without getting another one. And I've also recently moved, so it's kind of a wreck, but we're gonna get into the TBR. So the first book is Iron Flame. I know I'm way late to the train on this, and I was also really late to Fourth Wing, simply for the fact that I couldn't find it for a while and then I kind of gave up. But I've been putting this off because every time I talk to someone, they say, oh, it's not as good as Fourth Wing. I was disappointed and I just could not handle the disappointment. But I got the really cute one. It's got sprayed edges. They're really dusty. I don't know if you can see how dusty they are. But this follows... Why did I just forget the names? This follows Violet and Xaden. And honestly, okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't remember what exactly happened. I remember how this ended, and I won't say it because I won't spoil it. But I definitely need to go back and get a refresher. But I read Fourth Wing in a day. I actually skipped a football game when I was in college, and I sat in my bed all day and I read it. And I guess it ended up being one of the closest football games of the year, and I just didn't. So I'm really excited to get around to this, and I am going to get around to this because the, what is the third one called? Is it Onyx Storm? I don't know, but we're gonna get around to this. Next up is actually a book that I have already started. I am 56 pages into Nuclear War. Now, my thing with reading is I will absolutely go in and read like 5 fantasies back to back or like 10 romances and not have anything educational in between. So I've been trying, now that I'm, out of college, to actually keep up with what I studied, because you go from like talking about current events all day, every day, and then you don't talk about it at all. So this is a very interesting book so far. It's basically examining what would happen if there were to be a nuclear strike against the continental US, and it goes into like health effects. And what's interesting to me, at least so far, I haven't read that much of it, is how if there were to be a strike in DC, it talks about how if there was a game at the park nearby, how many burn victims there would be compared to how many burn units are even available in the entire US, and it's actually really terrifying, but I think it's really interesting and it's useful, and I'm trying to keep up with, what I studied and not let it all slip away because I did not get those degrees for nothing. So yeah, I'm really excited to get into this one and kind of see what else it has to offer and probably scare myself. Okay, next up we have The Wedding People. Now, this I got in Book of the Month. I don't know if you can see my shelf right here. They are my Book of the Month books. So I got this in Book of the Month, and you know what's funny is I actually was... I don't remember what I was doing. I think waiting in line for something, and I needed a book to read, and I bought this on my phone, and then came home and realized that I already had it with my Book of the Month. I'm really guilty of, like, I haven't read a single of my Book of the Month books. No, I read You Again. That's what I read. So I did read one of them. But anyways, this is Wedding People. So I just read through the synopsis because I was going to explain the gist from what I read, because I started reading, I read like 10 pages. But it doesn't say it in the synopsis, so I don't want to spoil it. But we have Phoebe Stone, and she arrives at the Cornwall Inn, and she's doing like her, I guess, like dream stay there, and there also happens to be a wedding going on, and she's the only person there that isn't one of the wedding guests, and then she actually bumps into the bride, and I think we're gonna follow both of their journeys. I'm super excited. I also saw on Book of the Month, I don't know if that's weird, but sometimes I just get on the Book of the Month app and I read what they have to say, but it says that it was rated really highly and that people really enjoyed it, so I am excited to get through this, and I'm hoping it kind of gives me more summary vibes, so I'm trying to get it done earlier while it still warms. I don't know, the way that I mood read is very much so, like, for example, I started the ACOTAR books finally last fall, and I got to Frost and Starlight, but then it got warm outside, so I've actually yet to read it. I plan on reading it in like November so that I can get to Silver Flames. That's how bad it is. Don't even come at me for it. I'm self-aware. This is just who I am. Okay? Kind of in a slump. And when I look at some of these books, I'm like, this might make it worse. But, you know, we're just gonna try it anyway. Next up we have Autumn's Tide by Hannah Parker. Now, I saw this on TikTok. I don't know what it's about. I want to say it's maybe an enemies to lovers. Don't hold me to that because I might just be making that up because I know that I like it. I have absolutely no idea what it's about. We're just gonna read the back. Every girl in Ballamore dreams of being chosen by the Fae. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. For some, because the Fae promised to deliver them to the beautiful fairy realm. For Larkin, because her closest friend was chosen the previous year. She tries to accept her fate, until she discovers that her friend is in danger and the promise of eternal joy amongst the Fae could be a lie. Larkin breaks the sacred covenant between humans and Fae and enters the fairy realm to find her friend. Her only ally is Finder, a fairy prince of the Autumn Court who now owes her a debt after she unwittingly saves his life. Their bond is both the key to her survival and possibly her downfall. It's gotta be an enemies to lovers. Underneath the glittering facade of the fairy realm seethes a shadowy pact written blood, betrayal, and lust for power at any cost. A tithe must be paid by each of the courts of Erodian? Yeah, I'm so sorry. Both Finder and Larkin's people face retribution if the tithe goes unpaid, and their bond could destroy the foundation of the courts and the human world forever. I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna eat this up. I'm really excited for this. And, wait, okay, I saw this because I saw on her TikTok that she was selling signed copies. I didn't know she wrote the name. Oh my gosh, so I have to read this month? I have to read this month. Oh my gosh. See, why am I about to cry? Why am I a baby? Okay. Hannah, I'm reading it, I swear. Next up, we have 1, 2, 3. I bought this 2 years ago, and I was like, yes, I'll read it in the fall. And I was in college, and sometimes college just kind of takes over, and you don't have time to do anything else, so I didn't have time to do anything else. And I never got around to this. These 3 twin sisters. Twin sisters. I don't know if it's Mab or Mabe. Mob. I don't know, Mirabelle and Monday. And I guess something happens in their city and they have to kind of come together. And I think it's from each of their points of view. Correct me if I'm wrong. Basically their journey of discovering the past of the city. And I guess it's a grab a tissue kind of book. So I just know that when I started reading it, I don't remember now. But I know that when I was in the store, I started to read it a little bit and I was like, yes, I want to read this. I don't even know what the genre is. So we're kind of going in blind to this, but I think it might be fun, especially if I'm like feeling like I'm in a slump, like not knowing what's coming. So I feel like that could definitely be fun. Pride and Prejudice. It's a reread. And before you even give me crap, I know this is giant. And the font is giant. But funny story about this is that I had to do a project on this, I think freshman year of high school, maybe sophomore. Okay, minor mishap. My camera battery died. And I don't know what I was saying about this. It's not even been that long. Anyway, I was probably doing it last minute knowing myself. And I guess this was like the only one left. I have been watching the show with my friends and I love the movie. So I figured I would just kind of circle back. And I feel like fall is the perfect time to get back into classics, but also this book specifically, just because I love it so much. Lastly, we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I hope I said that correctly. This book is about Galaxy, also known as Alex, who I believe on her deathbed or when she's super sick, gets the opportunity to go to Yale on a full ride, and she ends up getting into these like secret societies that kind of dabble in some not so good things with the dead and even possibly with the living, which I think is kind of the premise of this. It says they tamper with forbidden magic, they raise the dead, and sometimes they prey on the living. So I'm excited. I have been kind of putting this off since I got it because I know a lot of people said they struggled with it, which kind of scares me, but I think I'm gonna give it a try anyways. If not, I kind of want to read Caraval. That's like my swap in, even though I feel like this one's more fitting for September. I do really want to read Caraval. My only thing is I hate getting into series because I'm in the middle of the ACOTAR books, Fourth Wing, the Selection series. I'm in the middle of this still. Middle of Chestnut Springs. I started the Hoops series. I read Long Shot. Well, I attempted. I actually had to skip so many chapters, so I don't think I'll be going, circling back to that. Binding 13, I've read Binding and Keeping. I haven't read any of the other ones. Oh, the Knock 'Em Out series, I'm not finishing it. I heard the second and the third aren't very good, so I'm not finishing it. Oh, I'm like a self-proclaimed huge Magnolia Park stan. However, I have yet to read Into the Dark because it feels like Julian's gonna get hurt. And I can't have that. So I've been putting it off. Also in the middle of the Dark Burst series, as well as, I believe it's just a duology, I read There Are No Saints. And I think there's another one, it's like a serial killer romance, dark romance. I don't think I'll read the second one because it was just something. It was something else, and I don't think it's for me. I also have this. I'm scared. Should I read it? Tell me if I should read it. I'm so terrified. Who emailed me? On a Sunday? Oh, it's a book email. Never mind. Oh, and also a runner-up is If We Were Villains next month. Or, no, next month is September. October. I got this. Well, I guess really no one asked what I'm in the middle of. But also, Shatter Me and Cruel Prince. I hated the first half of Cruel Prince. Loved the second half. And I heard it gets better. I'm gonna get around to it. But that's really all. Thank you for watching. I hope this is still recording. And I'm thinking about doing a reading vlog. I also want to do one and see if I can finish my August TBR in like the next 7 days, the end of August, because I have, I think, 2 or 3 more books to read. So we'll see if I get around to that. No promises. We're gonna take a thumbnail. Once a been. She don't know any of those words. Hair's been frizzy this whole time. Just act like you didn't see. Oh! I also want to read those. I don't have time for all these. Good night.